Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Bedford City School District Board meeting, our regular meeting on December 8th, 2022. December 8th, 2022. Roll call, please. Here.
Present.
Here. Here. Visitors are always welcome at our board meetings. If you wish to address the board, please complete the form provided upon arrival at the meeting and give it to our treasurer. Oral presentations are limited to 3 minutes each so the meeting may proceed uninterrupted. Also, please silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will move right into our agenda, which is item number 2.01, which is an acknowledgement of the Bedford City School District goals. Please read them at your leisure. Item number 3 is awards presentation and communication. We will have, which is item number 3.01, we will have a presentation by Ms. Erin Black and her staff, who's the principal of Glendale Primary School, and also a presentation by Mr. A. Corey McDaniel, who's the principal of Sherwood Victory School. And now we'll hear from Ms. Black. Ms. Glendale.
Greetings, Board President, Mrs. Boynton, board members, Dr. Johnson, and also cabinet. Okay, right here with me, I'm going to introduce her later in the slide here, but my name is Erin Black. I am the proud principal of Glendale Primary School. I also have some of my staff here, if you guys just want to give a quick wave. Thank you for being here tonight to support our school, so thank you. And I also have by my side my right-hand woman, Mrs. Angelique Littlewood. As you can see on our first slide here, we have the district's tagline, mission, vision, and core values. We will speak to these throughout the presentation. My mic is not on. Testing? You can hear me? Oh, that sounds better. Okay. Shall I begin again or carry on? Sure, I'll start over.
I want to hear it.
Greetings, Board President, Mrs. Boynton, and board members. Greetings, Dr. Johnson and cabinet. By my side here, I have Mrs. Angelique Littlewood. She is, as I said before, my right-hand woman. She will be helping me to present tonight. This is Mrs. Angelique Littlewood. I also have some members in the audience from Glendale Primary School that have come here to support us, and I just wanted them to give a wave, and I thank them for being here this evening. As you can see, we're going to start off with the district's tagline, mission, vision, and core values. We're going to speak to these items throughout the presentation. So this first picture here, we don't always dress like this, but for Halloween, Mrs. Lifford and I dressed in our bee costumes. And I want to give you a little bit of history behind the bees. So what you'll see there, I don't know if you see on the shirt, mine says be open-minded, and I believe yours says be responsible, be respectful. So those are the shirts we wore. So last year and every year, my staff, they vote on a theme for the year. So it's a collaborative process. And they say, how can we put that ROAR vision? How can we put the district's vision into action? And we decided to do so with the theme of bees, because being, I don't know if you've read Michelle Obama's memoir of Becoming, just to be is an affirmation. And so we wanted to turn that roar, those roar expectations, into affirmation. So we want our students to be respectful, be responsible, be open-minded, and also be, I believe I said, be achieving. Thank you. And we believe we have the right staff on board to help our students become all those things. So I would be remiss if I did not mention these two individuals that you see here on the screen. On the screen, I have Mr. Paul Stokes. He has been with us for 29 years, and he will be retiring at the end of December. And then we have our beloved Miss Trisha Wilms, who everyone knows. She was with us for 32 years, and I hope she's watching. If you're watching, hi Trisha, we miss you. But even though her last day was on the 28th, we've not seen the last of her. She has promised to come back because in her last months at Glendale, she did some amazing things and set us up for some real success. So as I mentioned before, our mission and vision are directly aligned to the BCSD vision and mission. It's not broken, we're not gonna fix it. And we began the year, actually Mrs. Lipford had an activity at our first staff meeting where we had to reflect on that vision and mission. And she also created some posters, almost like an anchor chart. We talk about for our students how it's important to have the visuals. So she created a poster that's an anchor chart that is in every classroom in the building, and it has our goals, the vision, and the mission of the district, and it helps us to remember our why. Because this is why we're here. We are here to inspire our Glendale learning community every day to achieve excellence. And all Glendale students will graduate as open-minded, responsible citizens. Each day on the morning announcements, we say these affirmations. I am respectful. I am open-minded. I am achieving, and I am responsible, and we believe in our students. So the next slides, we're talking about our goals. The goals are not how they were before, where you're just coming up with some great ideas of things you think you might want to entertain as your goal for the year. It is based off of the last year's data, and it's also based on our One Needs assessment, which we are getting better and better at with the help of some dynamic staff here in Bedford City School District. And so our goals are aligned to the building's most critical needs, and we revisit these goals often. We have actually tweaked some because we looked at that data for last year, looked at some updated data and said, let's just tweak this a little bit. And Dr. Johnson and her administrative staff have given us the flexibility to do that and to make our goals make sense for us. So our goals, I don't know if you guys are going to present the district's new revised goals, but it was so refreshing to me when the district put out those revised goals that each of our goals were aligned to the district goals. That tells me every building, we're mirroring one another. We also, our issues, our goals, our aspirations are the district's. I've never felt more cohesive as a team. And it's just refreshing to be in this place. So I'll read aloud those goals to you because it's in small print. But by June 10th, 2025, we will improve the performance of all students and wait for this, preschool. Before we didn't include preschool into our goals, but I have some preschool friends here actually. But preschool through second grade at Glendale Primary to increase by 60% the number of students scoring in strength and typical on all areas of the DECA and DESA. The DECA is the test that our preschoolers use, the social emotional assessment, and the DESA is what we use, okay? So goal 2, by June 10th, 2025, we will increase the number of all students preschool through second grade at Glendale Primary School scoring proficient or higher on district formative assessments as measured by the ELA, that's the preschool assessment, and iReady by 75%. And our final goal is goal 3. We will improve student academic achievement by increasing the percentage of all students preschool through second grade and Glendale Primary by 15% of our students participating in learning opportunities outside of the classroom. We realize the value of having partnerships with our parents. And learning is great in the classroom, but it really comes together when students see the value of learning outside of the classroom too, and making those connections. And so you're gonna see a couple of our nights that we plan. We've had a curriculum night, and we have an upcoming SEL night that's put on by our staff.
So we are very intentional about recognizing our students and our staff members who are being amazing at our school. Each month, teachers nominate someone as the Stellar Staff Member, and that person receives a Caped Crusader Award. We have an example here. This person is a team player, is selfless, is innovative, supportive, and compassionate. And so therefore, they receive this superhero trophy because that's what it means to be a Stellar Staff Member. Their picture is then taken and displayed in our case for everyone to see. And we also recognize our students. So we have our Stellar Student Award. And this includes teachers as well as our specialist teachers who are nominating students who are demonstrating those ROAR behaviors. So being responsible, being open-minded, being achieving, and being respectful. In addition, these students are helpful, kind, they show leadership in the classroom, and they are eager to learn. So each of these students receive a certificate, and then they are featured on our social media sites. In addition to recognizing small percentages of students, we look at the whole Glendale community in its entirety. So we have our PBIS team that plans monthly incentives for our Glendale community. So far, we have done the Fall Festival. We have also done our Friendsgiving dance with bracelet making. We have some upcoming incentives as well, which are school-wide for students, which includes our Winter Wonderland Roar store. So students can sort of like cash in to buy little small trinkets, bracelets, poppets, and things of that nature. And we are especially excited because we have had families who were willing to contribute to our PBIS initiatives, and they are giving us items for our sensory bottles for the students.
So I just want to shout out our social media person because each Sunday we have a staff spotlight. So if you ever want to get to know the staff at Glendale Primary School, please take a look at our social media page and you can find out some fun details about them. And we have 4 of the staff members. This is just not teacher. We have SEL staff, custodial staff that will be featured on this page. So follow us. Okay, let's get to the meat of why we are here. So I want to get into what we teach. So for our English language arts block, it's a 120-minute block. This is the same information that you've been seeing for years, but I want to add some updates to this. Our reading block and our literacy program is based off of the science of reading. The science of reading is a vast, interdisciplinary body of scientifically based research about reading and issues related to reading and writing. This includes phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. We are using read-alouds, systematic and explicit phonics and phonemic awareness instruction, skill-based small group instruction, and some of the resources that we use and programs we use are Haggerty, Foundations, Wonders, iReady, and new to us last year was Secret Stories. We had 2 people, what we learned through that letters training that maybe you've heard about at another board meeting by our curriculum directors are what we've learned about the science of reading. We've learned that we've been teaching high frequency words all wrong. Okay, and you gotta be vulnerable enough to say that and then fix it and get it right. But the pedagogy that we've had in college, they've taught us the wrong way. New research has said, stop teaching these kids to memorize words. There is a secret story behind them. I do have a teacher in the audience that's piloting this program. She loved it. We had another teacher run the data on it, and we were able to determine the students experiencing secret stories in kindergarten last year scored much higher on phonics this year. And so we know that the research is out there. So we are piloting that program starting in all of our kindergarten classrooms. And with the help of Mrs. Sherry Martin, we hope to expand that program over time, just collecting the right data to support that, okay? So our next thing is math. We are in a 90-minute math block. We have guided math, small group math, and math talks. The curriculum that we're utilizing is Eureka, iReady, and hands-on manipulatives. And let me say this, for everything that we teach, we are a standards-based school. So everything that we're using are resources, but we are going by the Ohio standards for learning. It's refreshing. We have Amanda Barbie, who was on staff this year as the math coach. She has been in classrooms, coaching teachers on how to make math more hands-on and how also having these guided math talks. So just a phenomenal job by her as well. Our next slide you're gonna see, I know we've seen this so much. This started with Dr. Barron, this UDL, and we've just continued this work this year with some of our staff members that are here that are experts on UDL and the MTSS process. This is a work in progress. We are getting better. We are reimagining what MTSS looks like. MTSS is not just for identifying students with special needs. MTSS is addressing the whole child from tier 1 all the way through tier 3, okay? So MTSS, we were looking at it, and this work, again, started a couple of years ago, and we realized, you know what? We're only doing a portion of this. So this year we've participated in lots of professional development that has helped us understand how much more that we can get out of the MTSS process. Let's look at some data here, and this data is for beginning of the year. Now, this data is exciting to look at, but I want to be very clear about what it's saying to us. We've also received a lot of training on how to look at iReady data. What this data is telling you is you see the tiers. So yellow would be tier 2, green would be tier 1, and that looks amazing, right? That 100% of our kindergartners and 98%, and then we have 55% of second grade. So let me tell you what that means. At that beginning of the year data, this is just telling us the students that are ready to learn. So this tells us, all that green means that 100% of the kindergartens are ready to receive instruction. 98%, and then 55 in second grade. You may pause and say, oh my goodness, what's happening in second grade? Well, if you can remember, think about what's been going on for the last 2 years. The learning loss, online learning. So we will get them where they need to be, but the school closure and the pandemic, it greatly impacted us. But we're moving on from that. Here are math scores. Again, 100% of our kindergartners, 84% of our first graders, and 49%. But if you look at that first grade number, those are students that had a real year of kindergarten last year. So that's promising. Some of the second graders, they never stepped foot in the kindergarten classroom, and that matters. Okay, looking at our attendance data, which, you know, you watch the news and there's all types of things going around. So we wanted to highlight our perfect attendance. We've had 3 in preschool, 2 in kindergarten, 1 in first grade, 1 in second grade, and we have not had anyone that has had to go through the House Bill 410 process yet, which is good. students are not out for a long time, but for a brief period of time for the right reason, because we want students here when they're well. But I'm going to highlight my staff. Perfect. 12 people have gotten perfect attendance. I don't know if you've been around those little people and all those noses, and yeah, that's hard to do. So kudos to the Glendale staff. Okay, and I want to just briefly go over the climate information. So again, we're using DESA and DECA, 7 mindsets, weekly meetings with the SEL team, SEL referrals, and Zenimos. Mrs. Lippert just wants to show you something, and I'm not going to read this in its entirety. You can read the screen. Did you hear that? So this is something that we purchased with our, we wrote goals to increase the number of students scoring in typical and strength. This is a guided meditation. It's a little turtle here, but what it does, when students are having a hard time self-regulating, we know that meditation works. So each classroom has a guided meditation Zenima. This is state-of-the-art stuff, I just want to say. We're very proud to have this. And our staff were using this. And if you just watch how the children, when they put this on, some of them, when they respond to it, they begin to melt. This is good for adults too, if you want to come over and use it. They also have adult versions of this, but this is an amazing tool. Thank you, Mrs. Lippert. Active social media accounts, staff potlucks, birthday recognition, the list goes on. We're going to continue getting great at PBIS. We plan on creating a Zen zone for every classroom. Mrs. Lippert is working on increasing positive referrals. And also, we plan to have more student assemblies. Real quick, you know I got to shout out our preschool here. So our preschool continues to be 5-star rated under the leadership of Mary Catherine Ratowski. We have completed our first successful audit. So ODE came in and we're doing things well. We were chosen to do a kindergarten cohort. We have our fatherhood initiative. And last year we were able to award 3 scholarships to seniors. Our preschoolers did a readathon drive. We were able to award 3 scholarships of $750 to graduating seniors at Pepper High School. And Mrs. Lippert will close.
So we have many outside supports that have been offered to the Glendale community. We have also reached out to our community in order to build that partnership and also to just create that village that we speak about. And so our community outreach and support includes BW Speech Partnership, which just means that Baldwin-Wallace students have been coming in to enhance our students' reading skills. The Cuyahoga Public Library 123 reading program is essentially doing the same thing, but with only 1st and 2nd grade students because we don't have the 3rd grade for that 123. Our school counselor has spearheaded the Coats for Kids program, so she has been able to secure a number of coats, hats, scarves, and gloves for those students who needed those items. The Church of Nazarene has sent their prayers, but also sent care packages for our teachers, which was really amazing. We have our Bedford High School student mentoring program. We have a select amount of students in 2nd grade who are meeting every other week with a high school student. We have done our Cuyahoga County Father Initiative, and we had over 100 fathers to attend. They got this awesome Father's Walk book, as well as some items from Bedford City School District, and so they were all very pleased about that. We had our Glendale PTA hold successful meetings. We recently held the Muffins with Moms, which was well attended, and we have had our artwork display at First Baptist Church. All right, and so next we have our student activities. So our student activities offer opportunities for our students to just tap into their skills and interests. We recently had our basketball intramural program. We started our Culture Kids program and our Student Leaders program, and we will be beginning the Garden Club in the springtime. And so our Student Leader program is similar to Student Council. During the month of November, they collected canned goods and other non-perishable items, and that will be sent to a local food pantry. The Culture Kids is an after-school program that exposes students to different cultures. It exposes them to their unique music, foods, and traditions. And that is the end of our presentation.
Any questions? Well, we thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you. I just want to make one comment. I love the energy and the enthusiasm. I want to cover a little bit.
Okay, come on. We'll leave the light on for you.
Now we'll hear from Carolyn.
Thank you very much. No problem.
Good evening, everyone. President Boyington, board members, Dr. Johnson, cabinet. Good evening. My name is A. Corey McDaniel, and I am your principal of Carrollwood Intermediate School. And we're here to do a short presentation for you about the wonderful things that are happening over at Carrollwood. I'm gonna pull this down because I can't talk. So tonight you have myself, Mr. McDaniel. My students affectionately call me Mr. Mack. So if you ever hear Mr. Mack, they're speaking about me. And I also have my wonderful Dean of Academic Achievement, Ms. Jennifer Spade, here with us tonight. So we want to kind of start off by just talking about really quickly some of the awards and recognitions that we provide our staff and our students. Every month, or every week, and then every month, we recognize a student and a number of students and a staff member who showed tremendous contributions to our school community, whether it be that week or for the month. For the month of November, we had Mr. Bobby Carney, our 5th grade ELA teacher, who was nominated as Teacher of the Month. And our students, and we call them Bearcats of the Month, but our Bearcats of the Month for 3rd grade was Elise Turney, our 4th grade was Anthony Moore, and our 5th grader was Savannah Brown. We find that recognizing students when they are showing raw behavior is super important. And just like Mrs. Black spoke about, we felt that increasing the times that we do recognize students also helps. And so instead of waiting for a month, we do it weekly as well. Again, I won't spend too much time because I know you guys have seen this numerous of times, but just know that everything that we're doing at Carrollwood, all of the goals, all the plans, action steps, strategies that we're using are directly aligned from the Bedford City Schools District's goals, missions, core values, and district goals as well. Again, I won't go into all of the district goals, but we are very aware of them. And although necessarily the graduation, we don't directly affect the graduation rate, indirectly we do because we build the students to be able to move through middle school and high school and ultimately graduate from high school and then hopefully to move on to college or a trade or something like that. So what we teach, again, won't spend too much time for ELA. Our 3rd graders do get 120 minutes of ELA instruction, while our 4th and 5th grade students receive 90 minutes. We do use Wonders and Ready Read curriculums, and we also use the iReady personalized learning for our students to help close those gaps as well. For mathematics, students receive 90 minutes of instruction, and we also use Eureka Math as well as Ready Math, and again, we use that iReady personal learning path to close those gaps. For science and social studies, they both get 40 minutes, and we use interactive science and My World Interactive. Our electives that we have this year include art, health, world language, PE, and then we have music, but the students have choices with the music. So we have a band leader. We have one who, if the students want to perform in orchestra, they can choose that. And we also have Mr. Asmus who does vocals, so the choir as well. And then, as you know, we do hold our win period. So what I need, we really focus in on what students need during that time.
Sorry.
Sorry, I have to adjust the mic. So now that we have gone through what we teach, it's time for us to talk about how we teach. We are strongly invested in universal design for learning. As Ms. Black and Ms. Lipford just said, the reality is that the MTSS process is geared towards every single one of our kids, regardless of where they fall. And so when we're talking about what we teach and how we teach, we're aiming for every single one of our kids to get instruction at their level, as well as being exposed to grade level content. So whether they're behind or advanced, we want to make sure that we're sharpening skills, but also not increasing deficits. We want to keep those skills sharp as well. So what we've been doing is an intentional focus on standards. We're really trying to make sure our students can also articulate what it is that they should know by the end of the class period, right? So I know that by the end of math today, that I should be able to point out an ordered pair on a number line, right? Like those types of things. It's hard to achieve a goal if you're not aware of what that goal is, so we've been very intentional about trying to make sure that our kids know what it is their goal is for that day, that week, that unit, essentially. In addition to that, we're really heavy on student reflection at Carrollwood, and that's academic, it's behavioral, it's in every single area. If you are a research nerd like I am, and you've been doing the research on how much reflection truly does drive student growth. And so again, if you're not taking the time to pause and reflect and say, here's where I am, here's where I should be, then it's really hard to build those bridges to help you figure out how to get where you're going. We're looking at trying to increase the options and the ways that students can demonstrate their understanding. One of those key principles is to help kids figure out how to show what they know, right? At some point, you have to do a traditional assignment, an essay. As a former English teacher, yes, I want to read your paper, but the reality is there are 15 other ways that you can show me that you understand a theme, or that you can demonstrate your knowledge of a topic sentence or things of that nature. And so we're trying to get kids to, our students and teachers have been very intentional about like doing kind of alternative assignments for those types of things as well, whether it's a flip grid or a video or a presentation, any of those types of things. In addition to that, it's about exposing students to the content in multiple ways as well. And so it's not just let's stand at the board and deliver. We're looking at how do we expose you to the same information in multiple platforms, right? So whether it's a graphic organizer, whether it's visual, whether we have a song that kind of backs up and reiterates those things, that's what we're looking at for UDL. The goal by demonstrating things in so many formats and then also having so many various ways for students to show their learning is essentially to make sure we hit every single one of those tiers, right? You might not get it visually today, but you might get it auditorily today. So we want to make sure we're exposing our students that way.
Just Mike again, sorry. We did want to take some time to discuss our report card results because the team really worked hard at closing a lot of the gaps for the students last year. And as you can see in the gap closing component, we scored 5 stars. And that meant that we were able to find significant evidence that students exceeded the state's expected growth. So the work that the team did last year during those win periods and intentional planning and explicit instruction really showed results when it came to the state test. And so this year we're trying to continue that. We want to make sure that we continue to close those gaps, and then we still are pushing our students forward to where they need to be. So when you look at our goals for the district, for our goals for Carrollwood, the building itself, and it falls into 3. We're looking to increase our student performance in reading by 50%. We're looking to increase our students' performance in mathematics by 30%, and then we're looking to decrease overall discipline referrals by 10%. Again, we feel like those 3 goals are the most important for us in kind of achieving the overall district goals. Now, how we go about achieving that, when we look at our reading goal, we do want to increase our students' performance 50% over the next by the end of 2025 school year. But how we do that each year is that every time our students take the iReady diagnostic test, we're looking for them to grow 8.3% each time. So next week when our students take the iReady winter diagnostics, we're looking to see an 8% growth over the fall. And then in the spring, we're looking to see 8.3% growth from what they did in the winter. And if we continue to follow that, by the time we hit the end of 2025, we will achieve that 50% goal. And the things that we're doing to achieve that is we had to identify an area of focus for our school. And we looked at our iReady data, when we looked at our OST data, we saw that one of the major areas of concern for our students were comprehension. And so we dug a little bit deeper to see what's the issue with comprehension. We were able to identify that vocabulary and phonics are our students' two biggest issues. When it comes to phonics, there's some of our students are still having issues with blending sounds and digraphs and those type of different things. And then with vocabulary, I personally feel, and then with the support of the team, we found that if students are exposed to more words, if students are exposed to prefixes, suffixes, Latin roots, Greek roots, all these different things, then they have the tools that they need to be able to figure out what this word is. And then they'll be able to better comprehend what they read, and then we should be able to see, we should yield better results. So that's our focus, and what our action steps is our intentional focus support groups. So those WIN groups, we took the time to go through the data to group the students as they needed to be. So we didn't just use iReady data, we also dibbled our students. We used other type of assessments to figure out where our students are really struggling, so that way we can group them together and work on those skills and help build them up for that. We increased the use of personalized learning in iReady MyPath. We'll talk about the iReady challenge in a couple of slides later, but we know that the more time students spend in iReady on their personal learning paths, they're filling in those gaps that they're missing. And the more time they do that, the more of those gaps they can close. Every morning on the morning announcements, I do a word of the day, right? I also do a joke of the day, and I'll spare you guys tonight my joke. But every day I give a different word of the day. I say the word, I spell it, I give a definition, and use it in a sentence. Again, exposing kids to different words and vocabularies, and the teachers even take it one step further by writing that word on the board and rewarding students every time they use it throughout the day in the correct form. So again, it's just throwing words at kids, getting them to understand that. We had literacy nights, home libraries. We'll talk about that in a few slides as well. But again, bringing our families in to understand how we can support them in reading at home, how to help them create reading nooks or reading spaces at home to encourage more reading at home when they're not at school. And then school-wide, we do the Stop, Drop, and Read, One Book, One School program. So it's designated times that each class, each grade stops everything they're doing and reads for 20 minutes. We have One Book, One School, where in the springtime, the whole entire school are going to be reading this exact same book. So it allows us to have conversations and different things around literacy that everybody can participate in those conversations with. Okay? Same thing, in the next two slides are just the data that supports those strategies, those action steps. So you see Mrs. Black kind of spoke to the beginning of the year versus the standard view. So when you look at Carrollwood's standard view, it's over almost 50%, so 47% of our students are looking at their risk tier 3, so they're the most at risk. But basically all that's saying is that if you look at the beginning of the school year, these are the students who are ready to be exposed to that grade level content. So you see in the beginning of the year, 54% of our students are in tier 1. 54% of our students are ready for that grade level content. And then when you look at each domain, you can see that phonics, vocabulary comprehensions are the biggest areas of concerns for our school, and we do believe that if we focus in on phonics and vocabulary, it will build the students' abilities to comprehend what they're reading, regardless if it's literature or informational text. And again, for mathematics, what we're doing, we're looking to grow 3.3% each time they take that iReady diagnostic test. And we're doing the exact same things that we're doing for reading. So we identified an area of focus, which is for us is actually twofold. The biggest area of focus is geometry, and typically we see our students not perform well in geometry because it's typically taught towards the end of the school year. And what we do at the end of the school year, we take the state test. So it really leaves little time for the students to master geometry. So one way we did to combat that is now during their problem of the day or morning work, is they're being exposed to geometry standards, geometry problems, just again, getting them exposed now, so that way we don't have to rush and try to crunch it all in right before we take the state test. We implemented a modified math instructional schedule because we had time in our schedule to have an extra wind block for reading. We didn't have that same flexibility for math. So we had to restructure what our math block looks like. So we, again, encourage the teachers to do 20, 25, maybe 30-minute lessons, and then let the rest of that time be group work and individualized work so you can support the kids on what they need. We're doing the iReady Challenge for math. And one new initiative that we brought this year is the Math 24 Challenge. Math 24 was around when I was in high school years ago, where it had the 4 numbers, you had to use the operations for it to equal 24. We brought that back, and we're actually doing a competition between Carrollwood and Columbus, and the winners of that will be actually sent to the regional competition in Ohio. So again, finding different ways to get kids engaged with mathematics and different things like that. And again, here's our data to support while we're doing that. Standard view, yes, 52% of our students cannot do their grade level math. But if you look at beginning of the year, almost 50% of those students are ready to do their grade level math. And then the domains, again, it shows geometry is the biggest one. What we found was numbers and operation, those basic mathematical skills, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing are where our kids are struggling in. So that's where during that time we're focusing on.
We're going to circle back to UDL because that underscores all of our data. It's our instructional practice. So for UDL at Carrollwood, we're looking at multiple pathways to student learning and engagement. So we've really been trying to emphasize for our teachers, like helping kids understand the why of what they're learning, right? Building that sense of engagement, whether you're connecting to popular culture, explaining that this will be useful in a career later on, really encouraging some academic risk-taking and trying to make your classroom safe places where that can occur. And then gamifying instruction. We know our kids love games, some friendly competitions can be helpful, and just trying to build those things into our lesson formats intentionally. Offering information in multiple formats, and we talked briefly about this earlier, so I'm not going to read that. You can read from the screen if you'd like. And then ways to check for understanding. It's very hard to make sure you're getting where you're going if you're not frequently and continuously checking to make sure you haven't lost your audience or your students along the way. And so those classroom assignments can be traditional. They can be more, when we talk about checking for understanding, it's really just a way to gauge. We've been intentional about doing things like thumbs up, thumbs downs for the kids to self-reflect. Those little exit tickets where they're kind of ranking their own understanding and then showing why. Those types of things have been very helpful for us. And we're noticing, I've sat in the TBT earlier last week, where I had teachers saying like, yeah, she said, I would give myself a B on this if I had to rate my understanding, and was able to articulate why, which is huge for kids at this level. MTSS as a part of our process, as everyone knows, iReady is our universal screener for K-8. And then for social emotional learning, we're using the DESA. Our school counselors, our social worker are running intervention groups based on the DESA. That's our SELT managing that. They're doing things like anger management, new student groups, all of those types of things where we know kids are having those struggles. We talked about an anxiety student group, things like that where we can really support our kiddos so that we can help them land in Tier 1 on the DESA as well. During WIN time, Title I tutoring groups, classroom teachers have groups. Everyone's kind of working through those things just to make sure that our kiddos are getting what they need during that time. We have had to have some attendance meetings, and some of those have been very successful. Family members have been pretty upfront about the struggles they're having and why their kids aren't in school, so we've been able to figure out a way to use our social workers to offer some wraparound services so we can get our kids back in school. Professional development around MTSS has been huge for our district over the last couple of years, but this year especially. If we can show up our teacher skills, they can show up our student skills. And so we're trying to be intentional about making sure we're identifying teacher leaders who can then go back and support those others. Social emotional learning lessons. Our social emotional learning interventionist, Ms. Akins, has been in the classrooms kind of teaching these coping strategies. How do we deal with our anger, things like that. As well as being able to pull some groups and just really working with our kids to help increase success. And then we streamline our MTSS process with a referral form that really just helps teachers figure out where should we be focusing. It's been very helpful for our team's communication. It delineates where kids are struggling, whether it's academic or behavioral, and it identifies specific academic concerns that match those domains you saw on iReady. but also that match some target skills, those soft skills our kids need to be successful. We'll move on to some celebrations. As Mr. Mack said earlier, we've got some Bearcats of the Week. And then after you've been Bearcat of the Week, you can be Bearcat of the Month. And then our staff, we do a Bearcat of the Month and a Bearcat of the Week as well. And so really just trying to celebrate student successes and staff successes. The reality is that what you focus on, you get more of, and so we're trying to highlight that positive and just help with, identify our vision here. And I'll turn you over to the iReady Derby.
Yes, this is all me. So again, in order to get students motivated and encouraged to go into iReady to work on those skills that might be 2 or 3 levels below their grade level, we had to find some type of way to motivate them, right? And nothing motivates kids more than competition, competing against each other. So we created the iReady Derby Challenge, and basically what it is, each classroom competed against the other classrooms on how many lessons that they could pass. And each classroom, and this for the fall season, we likened it to the Derby races. So each classroom got a little horse. We have a bulletin board in our main hallway that tracks, as you can kind of see. It started off in the beginning, and every week I updated and moved the horses based on the progress that each classroom had. Today I was actually able to announce the winner of the iReady Challenge, and it actually was our 3rd grade Miss Sanders class, who class passed a total of 1,007 lessons. Although I'm ecstatic for them passing that many lessons, I'm really proud of our 5th grade Mr. Carney's class for coming in 2nd. When we started this competition, they were 2nd from last. And they worked really, really hard to come up and boot 3rd grade and got in 2nd place. So I'll reward the classes next week with a treat, just to show my appreciation. And we're going to run this back again in the spring, but it's going to be NASCAR. So each class is going to have a little race car up there, and each week we're going to track how many lessons they're passing. And just so you know, we're not just looking for them passing lessons, we're looking for a certain percentage. So our school-wide goal is 80% is proficient. So we're looking for the students to pass these lessons 80% or better. We're looking for their overall percentage to stay on that 80% or better. We have conversations with our kids about their progress in iReady. We talk, like I said, they're going to take the diagnostics next week. So I had the teachers this week sit down with each student and set goals. Okay, this is how you did it in the fall. What do you want to do next week when you take that? So we went through that exercise today. And again, like I said, we'll bring it back in the spring with the NASCAR race. I also spoke about our family literacy night, which was a really, really great event. It was called Camp Read Aloud. Our title teachers and one of our 3rd grade teachers put this event together, and again, it was great. Like, they had so many activities, small groups, and different ideas for families to take home to recreate these things at home. They were able to, they got little trinkets and prizes for coming out. They had a little flashlight, so if they ever want to read in the dark, they had a little flashlight. So it's just different things and ways of encouraging families to find ways to read at home, because we know that, again, 20 minutes a night at the very minimum does wonders for our students. Yep.
When we talk about school culture and climate, a lot of that centered around PBIS for us, obviously. ROAR is our initiative district-wide. And so we came in and we started developing some reflection sheets based on the ROAR matrix. 1, we want our kids to be comfortable with it, but 2, if we're holding you accountable to these goals, you need to be familiar. You need to be comfortable with the language, and you need to know those like little expectations that are beneath them. And then we've had an intentional focus on ROAR qualities each month. So December, we're back to respect, and we're gonna hang out there until winter break, and then we'll keep moving back through those qualities. And some of that's coming from our PBIS committee when we notice like kids are lapsing in some of those values. So then we want to be intentional about what we're rewarding for as we're going through the months. PBIS incentives. So we started off and we were doing one bigger incentive a month. And for some of our kids, they were just struggling with that. And so we started doing like every other week. So they have raffles twice a week, and then a twice monthly format as of last month for their PBIS incentives. We've done the fall harvest, a popcorn and a movie. Our winter dance is tomorrow. And then before winter break, we're gonna do a very embarrassing version of Staff Family Feud. And so, realistically speaking, we wanna infuse some joy into our classrooms, into our school culture, and we wanna build that sense of community. We also want kids to not just work to stay away from consequences, but to have something to work toward. And so kids have been really intentional. Like I know teachers have said like, yeah, I'm not having as many, issues in the classroom this week. Like our dance is this week, and so they're aware of that. And so just trying to get them, setting long-term goals is difficult for adults. It's even more difficult for our scholars whose brains are still forming in that area. And so we set the criteria, we remind them on announcements, we remind them in the classrooms, in the cafeteria, and then it's up to them to show us how they roar so they can be eligible for that incentive. There are also some classroom-based incentives. Teachers are doing fun Fridays, or they're doing board games and things of that nature, and then some in-room PBIS stores, which they are eligible to buy things for every week. We've got a couple upcoming events. So we got our winter dance, we've got our Minute to Win It games, tug of war tournaments, we're doing a Carolwood cookout in the spring when we can trust the weather a little bit more. And ultimately we just have some events that we want to start making sure we are notifying parents of so they can support their scholars, but also so if we're doing a more community-based event like a cookout, we could loop our community in as well. It's all good at Carolwood. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your support. We really appreciate you, and we will take questions if you guys have them.
Thank you so much. Board, do we have any questions? Comments?
I don't have a question, but just a comment. I just wanted to thank both of you for your presentations today. I just like the fact that you show where you are and what you're doing to increase performance. And personally, I just like the idea how both schools are just thinking outside the box and bringing new ideas to try to encourage participation, encourage students to want to learn. So I just appreciate that.
Thank you. I just have a comment as well. Both schools, thank you so much for the level of data and things that you are doing to make the children feel belong. When we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what motivation is a lot to do with how performance is. And if they feel safe and comforting as well as belonging in their environment, they're going to achieve and exceed. So I really thank both of you for the level of just engagement that you are putting into the students. I did also have one question, Mr. McDaniel, is on the grade level, as Ms. Black did, she kind of broke down the differences of the tiers per grade level, because in my mind, I'm also thinking, when you look at the whole view, once again, going back 2 years, 5th graders were 3rd graders. Your 4th graders were 2nd graders. So if you could give us that breakdown, I would like to see that, and wondering if, some of that is the 5th grade, in which, 3rd grade guarantee and all of that, to see how that attributes. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
But I will do the same thing for Carolwood that I did for Heskett. I will donate my food truck to you to come and, teachers can use it to cook the food. I'm donating a truck, but you have to get everything else. So you just have to let me know the dates for it. Same thing for Glendale and any other school. My truck is I'm willing to donate it to you for this thing because I think the kids deserve it. And you're my biggest customer, so. Just let me know in advance the date to make sure I don't schedule anything for that date.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Next on the agenda is item number 4.01, which is the area for the Board of Education. The 4.01, Board, I would need a motion to approve the organizational meeting date for 2023. And the date would be January 5th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m. It is standard that we have an organizational meeting, and the meeting would consist of setting our schedule, meetings for 2023. Also is the board agree upon who would be the president and vice president as of December 31st. I would no longer be president, Ms. Burke would no longer be vice president. And so we have to have the organization meeting, and then we will go right into our regular meeting. So board, if I could have a motion to approve the organization meeting date of January 5th, 2023 at 6:00 p.m., please.
Motion to approve the organizational meeting for 2023 as presented.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Birch and second by Mr. Lippert. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker? Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. The next item on the agenda is item number 4.02, which is the President Pro Tem. We have to have someone, because no one has a position, we have to have someone to preside at the organizational meeting, which is usually the president. So I'm asking the board to please approve a motion for the president to be the pro tem for 2023 organizational meeting on January 5th, 2023. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve President Pro Tem for the organizational meeting for 2023.
It has been moved by Mrs. Birch and seconded by Mrs. Macklin. Any questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Next on the agenda is our 2023 program of studies. We did hear a presentation on Monday night, which is great. Thank you so much for the presentation that the board attended on Monday night. And so with the board, I need to have a motion to approve the program 2023-2024 program of studies. And you can find those in Exhibit S1, 12 and S2, 12. Could I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the 2023-2024 program of studies. Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Evans, second by Mr. Lippert. Any questions about the exhibits, which is S-1 and S-2? Any questions?
I did.
Yes.
There were a couple amendments or things that needed to change prior from what was spoken on Monday, just needed to be updated. I just wanted to confirm if those adjustments were made. Okay.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mrs. Becker?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Next on the agenda is ordinance participation. Please be reminded that the board participation is limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address as you come to the microphone. We have Ms. Harrison, and her comment is related to, is there a budget to fix the school playgrounds?
Yeah, I was asking this when we go to the
Would you please
playground.
state your name and
I'm
please,
sorry.
your address?
Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm Taria Harrison. We go to the different playgrounds just early in the morning, just playing. And we notice that there's like holes in the slide. So I was wondering, is there a budget as to when, I guess, when the playgrounds will be fixed? Because they've been there since I was a little girl. And also, I had a question about making sure the classrooms are still clean as far as COVID procedures. Are they still wiping down the rooms, keeping it clean, or is just the nightly clean? And then my last question is, how many minutes do I have?
You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Or what's the time left?
2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is, that I was listening, they were mentioning about like showing the data as far as them learning, but as far as like the overall culture of the school, as far as the kids interacting with one another, Like, how is that being developed? Are there other, I guess, programs available, or, because I noticed like with my kid, sometimes the kids are not so nice, but is there intervention there? Are the teachers hearing when other children are not nice? Or are we just focusing on the overall data to get to as far as like meeting our goal of this particular number? I know Ms. Black does a good job of it, but I'm just wondering overall in the district, how is that is, because if we choose to move forward, are they developing the children as far as this is a friend, or, you know, working amongst together? Because I know only, it seems only our group does it, or certain teachers only do it, but is that an ongoing thing across the district? Instead of just focusing on the number, like let's reach here for reading, math, but as far as a community effort, are we working together one another as a friend, a community, helping your next person? Is that a thing? Thank you.
Ms. Harrison, we will answer your questions. I need some contact information, maybe your email and phone number, and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
We have several questions from Ms. Valerie Harrison. And question number one is referencing alternative schools.
Can you read my writing?
It's very difficult, but I will,
Well, I
listen
have
to
a
you.
copy, I can just
So,
solve it for you.
No, it's just small, that's all, I have my glasses on. So, Ms. Harrison, we'll hear you at this time. Please, state your address.
My address, 6001 Sunset Drive, Valerie Harrison. Is that it?
Yes.
So I have a number of concerns. I have at the top, have you considered the following for 22-23, 23-24? Number one, alternative schools for disruptive students who prevent others from learning. We have an alternative school. I know one guy had it, but I don't know what's going on now. So if you have a bunch of students that's being disruptive and it's hard for the teacher to teach the ones that do want to learn, what do we do with those two? That's number one. Number two, NEOEA Day used to enhance or improve teachers' management skills within the classroom. Instead of kicking the kids out, because once you kick a child out, you've taken away your power within that classroom. There's got to be a way that the principals can work with the teachers, give them some type of incentive to work with those kids until they're placed in a place where they feel comfortable, because sometimes a 20 enrollment class is so overwhelming for a child that has learning problems or something. Number three, consider school-wide and or base incentives for students making appropriate choices. For example, bowling, blading, skydiving, and then I put here guest speakers for True Speakers League twice. Have individual guests come in, particularly the middle school, high school, to speak to those children that need to hear. It used to be scared straight. I don't know what's happened to that. I don't know. But have students or young people who have maybe been incarcerated learn their lesson, and they can come in and share their experience with those young individuals. I know when I was teaching them, we take the kids to Scare Straight. I didn't, but they went to Scare Straight, and they were scared straight, where they made better choices, better decisions, more respectful. They were more appreciative of what they have as opposed to what they would be confined to if they made the wrong choice. Those are my three, so I have to come back next time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Harrison. We do have your contact information, and we will be getting back in touch with you. We appreciate the audience participation. We are so grateful that you are, as a stakeholder, we're so impressed with you coming out, discussing these issues with the board and with the community, and we will get back with you. Yes.
Real quick, take 30 seconds. When you called me Do the other people know about it? I mean, it's just isolated to me.
Yes, and in fact, that's one thing that we're gonna do.
Because we used to talk about
We
it
would,
years
we would
ago.
bring it back to once there's a response to this, to your questions and your concern, we'll bring it back to our board meeting to address these issues.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a very good question.
Wayne, if I could just, once again, also thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I think that when we have our families, come out, and just provide us with feedback, that gives us an opportunity to do better and to continue to grow. And so I just wanna thank our, committee members that do come out and, do, provide that, the questions. And so, just thank you, because I know you're
My
taking time
pleasure.
out of your schedule to come out. I just wanted to say that we will, follow up, but unless it's something personal, we definitely can make sure that at the next meeting that we make note of that and give the community answers, to responses. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item number 6.01, which is our consent agenda, where we've had an opportunity to look at the different items that are on the consent agenda. So can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as approved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Burch and seconded by Mr. Lippert. Board, do we have any questions, any concerns? Here now, roll call, please.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mrs. Reagan? Yes. Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda is our superintendent's report. Oh, Dr. Johnson, would you like to, I am so sorry, would you like to speak on something on 6.01?
No, thanks so much. I appreciate your support of the recommendations. Within the consent agenda, there are some personnel items. And typically at this time, we do ask that if we have any employees that have been recommended and voted upon, so please just stand and let us know who you are and the positions that you will be holding.
My name is Heather Parker. I am a recent hire for the speech language pathologist position at I actually interned here with Melissa Pollock, and then I worked with Julianne for a short time when I was in graduate school. So after 5 years of being gone, I'm very excited to be back.
My name is Mary Ann Hurd. I am going to be the Carrollwood head of concern.
Thank you. You want to tell us a little bit more, Mary Ann, about you've been here?
Sorry about that. Yes, I've actually been with the district since March of 15. I started in the kitchen actually, and then moved to security at the high school, and then I moved to custodial position, moved up to second shift head custodian, and now I am the head of custodian of Carroll Intermediate. I'm excited to be this position.
So, Mary Ann, you would be the third female head custodian?
Yes, girl power. Yes, this week said the females are taking over the doors. So, yes. Yes, I'm excited about that too.
Congratulations to both of you and welcome to Bedford City School District.
Thank you for your years of service too.
Thank you.
Item number 7 on the agenda is our superintendent's report. Dr. Johnson.
Good evening, Board President, Vice President, Board members. Under 7, I have 2 exhibits here. Under 7.01, we ask for your approval of the following service contracts on behalf of the Executive Director of Academic Achievement. And under 7.02, we ask of your approval of the following service contracts on behalf of the Executive Director of Operations.
Board, could I have a motion for 7.01 to approve the following service agreements as presented?
I motion to approve the service agreements as presented.
It's been moved by Mr. Atkinson, second by Mrs. Birch. Do we have any questions on board or any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
And 7.02, want to approve the service agreement under 7.02. Board, could I have a motion?
Motion to approve the service agreements as presented, 7.02.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Lippert and second by Mrs. Birch. Any questions or discussion, board? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Item number 8 on the agenda is our treasury report, 8.01.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Board President, Vice President, and Board members. Today we just have a couple of then and now statements, which are pretty routine, and a transfer to be approved by the
Board, could I please have a motion to approve the purchase orders as they're presented and transfer of funds?
I make a motion to purchase orders
It's been moved by Mrs. Mackler and second by Mrs. Birch. Questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner Birch?
Yes.
Mrs. Boynton?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board. Item number 9, announcements, new business.
Folks, I don't know if I have many announcements, other than I know as we go into, I talked a little bit about before the break, but I do want to just thank all of our principals, for coming before the board, and doing their presentations, very thorough, very detailed, and, a lot of times, we only get to hear about, the not so nice things that are happening, in districts, especially urban districts. So I just really want to thank the board for providing us with an opportunity to really showcase all the amazing things that are happening in the district, but also providing you with an opportunity to hear how things are going based upon implementation of the various initiatives that you have voted upon for approval. I think that's imperative to always circle back around and share how we are progressing and moving forward as a district. So I just want to thank all our principals. I know they can be very nervous to come before the board, but I just want to thank you for your time and your dedication as well as your staff, uncertificated and the classified staff members for all that they are doing for our children. So thank you so much. And I think beyond that, this is the last time that we will see the staff before break, so I just wanted to also just thank them and wish them well in the holiday season and get rejuvenated, and so that we can come back very healthy and well to close out that next school year. Thank you.
I just have one announcement. It was about the Bedford Schools Foundation. We just ended our virtual Holly Ball this past Friday. It opened up the Sunday after Thanksgiving and it went all the way through to this past Friday. We had a great showing. A lot of items were bid on. We have one of our own teachers at Heskett, I believe, won a 75-inch flat screen TV. So I just wanted to thank everyone who participated. Just speaking for the foundation, I'm pretty sure they appreciate your efforts as well, and we hope to see you again at our next event.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Ms. Tariq. Career fair, next Wednesday night,
Oh, yes.
the 14th, I think that is. Yes, we have our winter career fair, next Wednesday night, so, please look out for that information. We highly encourage those of you that know of someone that has an interest in working in any of the fields of education. We're doing on-the-spot, interviews, so we'll send that information out again. We'll have Denise also send out a, nice message to everyone to encourage them to let either whether it's a December grad or a May grad or anyone that's currently looking for employment, to please come out and join us for the career fair.
And I would just like to say the Board of Education wishes everyone happy holidays, and we will see you next year. 2023. What would you like to? Next item on the agenda is we'll be going into, it's 10.01, we'll be going into executive session to discuss personnel. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to enter into executive session to consider the employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, and demotion or compensation of a public employee.
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Birch and second by Mr. Akins. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Turner Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Akins?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyd?
Yes.
Mr. Lippert?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Board. We will be going into executive session. We will come out of executive session before we adjourn, of course, and we will not be voting on any items. So again, wish you all a wonderful and safe holiday, and we will see